Why did the American Revolution succeed when so many others failed? When you look back at some of the most important revolutions in history, it's pretty hard to ignore that so many of them ended in tragedy. Many revolutions are simply crushed in their infancy. Others, like the English Revolution, saw the emergence of a political strongman who consolidated power in his own hands. The Russian Revolution ended in the deaths of millions of innocent people, and in the case of the French Revolution, just about everything that could go wrong did. This sort of begs the question, what sets the American Revolution apart from so many others, and why did the Founding Fathers succeed when so many before and after them failed? To answer this, we need to look at the driving causes behind the English, French, and Russian revolutions. The first of these unfolded in England between 1642 and 1651. Originally a conflict over taxing power between the monarchy and parliament, the English Revolution devolved into a full-scale civil war that engulfed every corner of the British Isles. Despite initially leading to a Republican Commonwealth, it eventually ended with Oliver Cromwell establishing a military dictatorship, only for the monarchy to be restored shortly after his death. Across the English Channel, the French Revolution began with the storming of the Bastille in 1789. Inspired by the success of the American Revolution, French revolutionaries promised liberty, equality, and fraternity for all the people. But within just 4 years, the revolutionaries had turned on themselves, plunging the entire French nation into a bloody purge known as the Reign of Terror. And from this chaos emerged Napoleon Bonaparte, who first became dictator of France and later crowned himself emperor, amassing more political power in the process than Louis XVI could have ever dreamed of. And nearly 100 years later, and with Russia badly losing World War I, the February Revolution of 1917 started with overthrowing a centuries-old Tsarist autocracy and the founding of a Russian republic. But a short 6 months later, the Bolsheviks, led by Vladimir Lenin, seized power in the October Revolution. Russia was plunged into a brutal civil war, which saw the emergence of the Soviet Union and the deaths of tens of millions of people under Lenin and later Stalin. The English, French, and Russian revolutions were each driven by a desire for profound change, be it political, social, or economic. Yet each resulted in the replacement of one form of authoritarian rule with another, which all too often was even more tyrannical than their predecessors. And yet, that isn't what happened in America. So what sets it apart? Well, for starters, the American Revolution was fundamentally about preserving property rights, liberty, and the rule of law, rather than remaking society or even humanity itself. The Founding Fathers were not interested in starting a new secular religion, remaking the calendar, molding the American people into a new Soviet man, or erasing hundreds of years of traditions that had been deemed reactionary or counter-revolutionary. Instead, they were interested in retaining rights that they believed they already had and were by right entitled to. The object was not for a different faction to wield absolute power, but to prevent the existence of such power in the first place. By rooting the American Revolution in the concept of unalienable rights granted by God to all men and embracing a culture of self-determination, the American Revolution created a philosophical and cultural check against the rise of a Cromwell, Napoleon, or Stalin. Washington not only knew this, he believed in it, which is perhaps why, unlike a Cromwell, Napoleon, or Stalin, Washington is still revered today, not only for his ability to wield power, but for his willingness to relinquish it.